As a musician, one of the hardest things to do, I think, is memorizing a song. You think that it takes a special talent in order to memorize those songs. It looks easy when you watch other people. There seems to be this fear and this concern that you'll never be able to do it. I definitely have felt that recently. I have a song, I played it for probably the last year. I just can never seem to memorize it. So today I wanted to share my experience in memorizing a song. Typically, you're going to have the sheet music right in front of you to play. So you have all of the chords and all of the lyrics in front of you all of the time. In some ways, this becomes a crutch and you depend on it probably more than you should. You're going to find that being able to learn a song is in some ways easier than you thought, in other ways harder than you thought. You get caught up in this fear and you just assume that you're not going to be able to do it. In some ways, in memorizing songs, I just never gave myself an opportunity to fail. We'll talk through some of the steps that I took to memorize the song. One of the reasons I wanted to memorize it was really just for a personal challenge. So being able to demonstrate that I can do that. I think just like anything, you want to try to play new chords, you want to play new songs, but being able to play it from memory is just a whole nother challenge. It's pretty nice to go into a guitar store and pick up a guitar and just play one chorus of a song, or if you have friends over and you want to share your skills, you can just play the chorus of a favorite song. Even if you can't play the whole thing, that can be pretty fun. You want to think about going outside your comfort zone. So if you've never tried this activity before, this is a pretty cool challenge. And that's the only way we're going to grow. See what happens when you take the safety net of the music away. It has been an eye-opening experience for me. One thing that I noticed was that now I'm kind of excited to pick up the guitar with no music next to me. So I'll just play around with where I'm putting the capo on the guitar. It kind of changes your experience because now you can just pick up the guitar and play more without having to look at anything. And so it gives you a bit more freedom also to play around with the guitar. The song that I ended up working on is actually the Beatles' Norwegian Wood. One of the reasons I chose this song is because it isn't too long and it has a pretty easy melody, and the chords for the most part just repeat themselves. So it's not too complicated of a song. If you're going to try this, that you pick something that's reasonable so that you can show some success. How did I go about this process of memorizing a song? I just decided to take away the music and hit it and then didn't look at it and try to play the song. That did not go over very well. I was really not making any progress that way. I realized that there were points in the song that I just didn't even know what words came next or which chords. I didn't know when to play the chords compared to the words because that was something I hadn't really memorized. I started with a section of the song with a verse and just looked at the things that were repeating. So then I would be able to practice that section and repeat that over and over and then get that section down. And then once I got that section down, break it into the next one. It seemed the easiest way to take off one bite at a time. Just think about this, there's the whole process, and then there's those individual pieces of things that you need to practice. The next thing that I did was try to play those sections from memory. If I forgot, then I would stop and then maybe glance at the music. So I would sort of put it away from me to one side so that I could face this way and try to work on the lyrics and the music without looking at it. But if I reached a point that I didn't know what was next, I would glance over it to kind of get a quick reminder and then continue on playing. And I didn't really look at this process as failure at any point. It was like these are just the steps you have to go through in order to complete this memorization task. You really needed to force yourself to recall, and it wasn't just repeating the same song over and over and over again. It was putting yourself in situations where you had to test whether you could memorize it or not. It made me think back to when I was in grade school and we had to memorize the Gettysburg Address. It was a lot of knowing what is the first word, and then you could get the rest of the paragraph, or knowing what is the next line after this line, memorizing the pieces, and then where is that point where you're picking up from the last section. Just looking at the music and playing the song 100 times, you're not going to get anywhere with your recall. I learned more from memorizing the words when I'm sitting in the car and just singing by myself. Probably sounds a bit strange, but that is because you don't have music in front of you. You're maybe not even hearing the music. One of the things I did was I would play the song, and if I hit a point where I didn't know, I would think about, well, what is the next thing? And then I would glance at the music and then really force my brain to think about what is the next thing instead of just automatically looking first. So taking that half a second or a moment to try to get that memory built in. I would say that you have to assume during this process there's going to be a lot of mistakes. You're just going to have to gain confidence in your ability to achieve this, to memorize a song. And as I was doing a recording just today, I got to a certain point in the song, Norwegian Wood, and I couldn't remember what was next or what the chord was, or I just needed a few more seconds. So this is okay. You've tried essentially, and you can memorize the song to the best of your ability, and that may be okay too. I mean, think about it. If you're just hanging out with some friends and you want to play a song and you don't have the music in front of you and you mess it up, I don't think anybody's really gonna care or notice too much. I would say being able to play the full song from memory did feel like sort of an achievement or a milestone because I hadn't tried to do this before. But it made me realize, wow, if I can memorize this song, what other songs can I memorize? And then how many songs maybe would I want to have in my memory? So now it has become even more of a challenge. So not just to memorize one song, but to memorize maybe a set of songs so that anytime I'd be able to play these songs by just picking up a guitar. It did feel freeing to not have to have the music in front of me and being able to just sing the song. That is a different experience, as you will see when you try it. One of the things I learned from this experience was that having a safety net all the time is not going to help you learn. So if you do have the music in front of you, there's no opportunity to get into that recall versus recognition space. And in order to grow, you have to have some bit of uncertainty about the outcome. You're just going to have to be okay with making mistakes. And the memorization is just that. It's a task that you have to do, and you need to figure out the ways to do it. One of the tips that I would share with you is that when you are learning a song, to be able to put the chord change and the word on which that chord change occurs, use that as a guide and a memory point, because once you do that, it will bring those two pieces together and make it a little bit easier for you to get through some of those chord changes. Practice and then pretend it's a performance. So in other words, keep going. And then also if you need to pause and just play a few chords until you can get back into the song, I think these are okay. I think this is building that confidence that is going to be okay, even if you totally forget a verse. I think about there have been performers who forgot the Star Spangled Banner. So, or we can all make mistakes, even experienced professionals. And when I awoke, I was alone. This bird had flown. So I lit a fire. Isn't it good? Now that you've heard my example, I challenge you to take on the challenge of memorizing a song, even if you just memorize a verse or a chorus of a song, and try that out and see how that goes. And then after that, hopefully you can expand and memorize a full song. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next time.